Mhm. All right, let's just hop right in. Move this over here. All right, so welcome to the webinar. We've got consistency of exercise is our title for today, and that is what we're going to be focusing on. And my name is Lindsay, by the way. So, oh no, is this not working? Okay, there it is. So who am I? I am Lindsay. 100% everybody here knows who I am, whether you are a dear friend of mine or you have worked with me in the past. But what's important for this webinar, the topic of consistency with exercise, what you need to know about me is that I am a former athlete. My entire life up until adulthood has been shaped around athletics. I was a 3-sport athlete in high school, and then in college, I was a dual sport athlete for the first 2 years, and a heptathlete for the track team for the last 2 years of college. So athletics has been a big part of my life up until graduating college, and then I entered the world of adulthood, and all of that was stripped away from me. I no longer had someone telling me when, where, and how to work out. Even though I knew what it took to exercise, I still wasn't getting it done. So what I realized for myself in adulthood is there was a huge drop in exercise consistency, and there was an increase of guilt and shame for that, because I knew how to exercise. I knew that I enjoyed it and I knew all the benefits from it, but it just wasn't happening for me. So I got really stuck in that guilt and that shame around it. And I graduated with a bachelor's in psychology. And so using that background and really leaning into my world of athletics, I got an certification in personal training. I really dove into meditation and mindfulness, taking into my education of neuroscience from my bachelor's degree, and leaning into this whole body communication world, which I'll talk about a little bit more later on, but basically getting to know the signals of your body and how to respond it. All of those things really motivated me to figure out why my consistency dropped and why I was feeling so guilty and shameful about it. Thus, Mindset Health Coach of Lindsay Hall was created. So really quick, just want to mention what I do. I work with one-on-one coaching, and I also have a signature group coaching program, which a few of the people here have done with me. It's mental movement, and here you'll get a sense of community, and I'll also give you a ton of practical tools to work on habit training, both in the external world and in your internal world, as well as, well, I said community, but just being around a group of other women or men that are going through the same thing. It's really powerful. The one-on-one coaching is just an opportunity for you to go deeper, and then the program be much more personalized, where we work on what you specifically need. So an example for this is my friend Naomi worked with me one-on-one, and before working with me, she had worked with various personal trainers, and it was just, it wasn't for her. Like, she was always in her head and feeling like she had to be perfect, and the personal trainers were pushing her too hard, and it would just be, debilitating for her self-esteem, and she never felt like she was getting any progress done. And she truly believed that working out it wasn't a thing for her. And beyond that, she felt disconnected from her body. She was dealing with a lot of eating disorders at the time, with body dysmorphia and a lot of body image issues. When working with me one-on-one, she felt much more supported and empowered to complete the workout, and it was at her own pace and level. Like, I meet her where she is at, and we start from there and build up. The coolest thing about Naomi is when we first started working together, she could barely complete one push-up, but then by the end, like at 3 months, she was doing 20 push-ups, just repping them out in a row, and it was phenomenal to see the joy that brought her too. And she was actually consistently running for 3 to 4 days a week, which was freaking awesome. And beyond that, she found the ability to be compassionate and patient with both herself mentally and her body. So why am I making this webinar? I was so intrigued by the fact that when I sent out that survey a couple weeks ago, I think everyone here filled it out. more than half of you were saying that consistency with exercise was the thing that you were struggling with the most. So I wanted to simplify this and really kind of paint a clear picture of what is happening there. So with consistency of exercise, that is the desired result, right? That is the goal that we are after. What is not happening is the actual action. You're not taking the action to exercise. And maybe it could be, you're exercising once or twice in this like last month or whatever, but it's not consistent. It's not consistent action. And before every action you take, there is a decision that gets to happen. There's a choice. You need to make the choice to exercise or not to exercise. And whether you make that choice or not, that decision to exercise will lead you closer to the goal of consistency exercise, whereas the decision to not exercise will lead you to the results of not consistent with exercise. So it's kind of breaking it down in a simple term, but what comes before the choice is your mindset. That conversation in your head that goes on is going to be the driving factor that takes you to make the choice to exercise or make the choice to not exercise. And it sounds really simple when we put it this way, but the mindset is the most complicated part. It's really understanding what that conversation looks like in you and how you can take power with that. Shoot me in the chat just to see if you guys are with me here, if you need any clarification. But what we're going to be focusing on here is the mindset, and that is me, the mindset coach. Oh, are we chatting? I can't really see if there is a chat, but maybe it'll pop up. So, big question, why are you here? Obviously, you came here because the title of consistency of exercise spoke to you, but I really want you to think about, why is this important? Why did you make the choice to come here? Because you wanted to improve that consistency. And these are a couple of questions that help you kind of think about this, but not questions, but I'm not consistent. This could be something that you're thinking of, or maybe you're thinking, I have the desire to improve my routine, my exercise routine. What I'm doing currently is just not working for me. I understand that consistent exercise will benefit my health. And I understand that now my choices are my responsibility, but it's still not happening. But I still refuse to settle. I refuse to settle for the fad diets, the workout challenges, the workout plans. I refuse to settle for that pattern of trying really hard for something and then falling back into this old pattern and feeling like shit. So if this is you, give me a yes, give me a 1, say this is me, I'm here in the chat. And know that this webinar right here is worth your full attention. So next one is, why now? Oh, there's the chat. Yay. Okay. Yes. Okay. So why now? Why is it right now that you're deciding to show up for this? Why is it important to you to make this change for you? Another way to think about this is, what would my life look like if I were to fully commit to my health? Think about where you are right now. And if you were to commit fully, and I'm saying you're here because you haven't committed fully, you're seeing that there is a sense of lack or something isn't fully in your commitment right now. So what would your life look like if you were to fully commit? And also think about how long you've been wanting to do this. How long have you been wanting to be more consistent with your exercise? Have you noticed a pattern with yourself? Has it been, the last 4 years you've been kind of consistent and then you lose that consistency and you get back on and then you lose it again? Or maybe it was just a couple weeks ago, you're like, I kind of need to be consistent with exercise. How long has this been going through your head? Oh, Kimberly, 2020 derailed my consistency. I only want to take classes, don't like working out at home, and I want to overcome that. Yes, great. Oh, that's amazing. We'll get to talk a little bit more about that specifically, Kimberly. Thank you. So why is this important? Why is it important that I make a change right now rather than staying where I'm at? So where you are right now, is this where you want to go? Or do you want to change this pattern and break free from that? And then this last one is, do you honestly believe that there is a later version of you that deserves optimal health that your current you doesn't deserve? In other words, is there another circumstance that you can be in, like the version of you that is no longer in the world that has a pandemic going on, or a version of you that lives somewhere else or has a different job? Does she or he, that version of you, deserve optimal health more than you do right now? Really think about that. Oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. So what to expect for the rest of this is I'm going to talk a little bit briefly about why it's important to have consistency with exercise. My guess is you already know why it's important, but it's really good to reiterate this. And then I'll introduce to you the 3 most common mental blocks that come up when we are working into consistent exercise. And then I'll talk about my 4 mental tricks that are going to help you break through those blocks and build your consistency. Following that with my announcement and a special offer for all of you that are here for the webinar, the recording. And after the recording, then I'll share the exclusive offer for everyone that's here live. And then of course, we'll have Q&A at the end. So let's hop in. Regular exercise is not only important, but it's necessary. And below here, I have the body, mind, and soul. All of these things are greatly benefited by consistent exercise. The body specifically, if you're really comfortable with knowing that what you put into your body, like the food, the nutrients that you put into your body, helps to increase the functionality of your internal organs and your functions of your body, the same is true for movement and exercise. Movement is food for your body's muscles. It builds them, it makes them stronger in your joints, it builds the stamina in your heart and your lungs, and it really improves that oxygen flow and that blood flow throughout your body. For the mind, it's totally, oh my gosh, it's a direct link from your body into your head when you're exercising because of that oxygen and that blood flow that's moving. It'll give you this euphoric feeling from that endorphins that you get from exercising that just feels like confidence. You feel good in your skin, and also working out regularly just gets you into your body and you feel comfortable from doing that, confident from doing that. It also has a stress relief. A lot of people can relate to that. This has a lot to do with that oxygenated blood going in and out your body, up and into your brain, and a sense of accomplishment. Checking something off your list. I'm going to exercise. You feel accomplished. And also the physical feeling of being accomplished. You know, like if you go throughout an entire day or a week and you didn't really exercise, you just kind of feel meh. But if you exercise, you just feel accomplished in your body. And that's amazing, which also builds that confidence. For the soul, exercise is a great way to connect with your body by dropping in and really getting to know where your body is in this moment, which also increases your idea of presence. Exercise is also a great opportunity to show your body that you love, that you care for your body, and that you want to improve the functionality of your body so that you can be present for everything else in your life. So the key to all of these benefits, we all know that those benefits are there, right? My guess is you're not here because you wanted to know why consistency of exercise. You're here because it's not happening, right? But consistency is important because you can work out once and you'll get that euphoric feeling. You'll feel connected to your body. You'll feel present. But if you're not consistent with it, you're not going to reap these benefits fully. You're not going to get the muscles, the strength, and the stamina, and all of that. You get to be consistent to get that reap the full benefits from it. So knowing this, because you know all of this, what's standing in your way? Really think about that. You know that it's good for you. You know that health is one of the top things. If you don't have your health, you can't show up for work. You're not showing up fully for your friends. You're not doing chores around if you're not showing up for your health. So what is standing in your way? And here's a hint. It's not your circumstances. I'm sorry, like the pandemic is such a great excuse for this, but it's not your circumstances. And I do have a note down here. It's very important that I point this out, but if you have a health issue that physically prevents you from exercising, of course, that is something that can stand in your way. But I want to introduce the intentional body love aspect to this, where you can still focus and be intentional and move your body when you have those health issues, but it's up to you to decide what that looks like. I'll talk a little bit more about intentional body love here, but yes, Kimberly, perfectionism, great. So every time I click on chat, that's what happens. So here are the most common mental blocks. The first one, Kimberly, thank you for pointing this one out, is perfectionism. How many of you have this all or nothing attitude? You're sitting here and you're thinking about, okay, I need to be consistent with my exercise. My goal is to work out 5 days in a row in a week or 5 days a week. That is a great goal. That's an excellent goal. Go for that. But what happens is the first day you start, so let's say you map it out on your calendar and you're like, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm going to exercise. And day one, you do your run, you do your exercise, you feel great, you're in your body, and it's like, yes, I'm on a roll, like I'm going to go for it. On Tuesday, you're kind of like a little exhausted from yesterday, but you're still going to stretch, maybe do some yoga, you're still moving in your body. And then Wednesday comes around and you're freaking sore and you're over it and you just can't move. And you're like, what the heck am I doing? And then Thursday happens and you get super busy or something gets in your way and you don't follow through. And then by the time Friday, you're like, well, I didn't do the first 4 days in a row, so it's over. I'm like, I just can't do this right now. I'm going to wait until another time where I can do it perfectly. That is a great example. The fear of failure, you're afraid of not going all in. And if you go all in and you fail and you're just like, I'm a failure, I can't do this. It's just not my thing. And then this is all coming from also comparison. You're comparing where you are now to an old version of yourself. If you're more fit then and you're like, I used to run 3 miles every other day, and you go in that way and then you get that sense of failure, that all or nothing, and then you're back to that old pattern again. Or you're comparing yourself to other people that you view as the perfect example of consistent exercise, and that's not going to set you up for success either. The next most common one is overwhelm. So I'm seeing this a lot more recently. The sense of I'm just too busy. There's way too much on my plate that I can't handle this. I can't be consistent with my exercise. I can't exercise today. I have too many things going on. You're seeing your calendar at the start of the day and everything has a deadline. And so you prioritize everything that has a deadline and you let the health stuff, the exercise be the thing to be pushed off because there is no deadline. And another way to see it is also this fear of success. This is kind of a deep-rooted one that you get to really investigate, but a lot of people are afraid to put exercise on their busy agenda because they're afraid that if they are consistent with it, it'll just be another thing on their plate, and they don't want to have to commit to a whole other thing because that would just be way too much. They're afraid of being successful with their consistency because it's just too much that they can't handle it. The last one is self-blaming. A great example of this is the sense of self-labeling. What I hear the most is, I'm lazy. You're sitting here and you're calling yourself lazy so that when it comes to making that decision, that choice to go and exercise, and you don't, and you choose to not exercise, you just kind of sit back and be like, I'm just lazy. Like, it doesn't matter. So it's kind of like a cop out. Like, it doesn't really hurt you because you are this way, and you weren't really expecting yourself to follow through with it anyway because you're lazy, and you just take that label. You really take that and believe that that is who you are. It can also show up as being intimidated by other gym goers or other people, similar to perfectionism with that comparison aspect. And you truly believe that you don't enjoy exercise because it's not something that you want to commit to. So of these three, pop in the chat, tell me which one or two or three that you tend to resonate with the most. Which ones come up for you more often than the others, or any of them, all three, if that's the case. When I look at these, I see just a vicious cycle, potential for a vicious cycle going on. There's perfectionism, and then when you are having that perfectionism, you can feel very overwhelmed by that, and that can set you back. Then also you can lean into that self-blaming and see, I'm a perfectionist, like of course this is happening, but whatever, and then it ends up in avoiding. So the thing between these three that is all that they're all the same is that they all end in avoidance, right? The decision to not exercise. So in our chat here, we have self-blaming. Yes, absolutely. Perfectionism, and overwhelm. Thank you, Kimberly, showing us that little vicious cycle. We got more overwhelm and self-blame, another perfectionism, and absolutely perfectionism. Yeah, it's really hard to not compare yourself to the current fitness level. Like, especially like Ali, especially for being a post athlete too. Like it's hard to see yourself from where you are now from where you were. So I want to ask you this question. Do you see this mental block that you're experiencing as consistent whenever the cue here is the thought of to exercise or not to exercise? Are you consistently responding with one of these mental blocks? Just ask yourself this. If the answer is yes, then you're totally human, and that's perfectly fine. It's very similar to the way muscle memory works, the way that the mental habits work. So a great example that I like is a piano player. If you've tried to learn an instrument or whatever, but when you learn a new song, it feels really awkward and you can't really get the timing down. But when you practice the same song over and over and over again, it just becomes muscle memory and you're not as attentive. You don't have to be as careful or paying attention to what you're doing. It's just mental movement and it flows. Another example would be when you're at a first day or your first 2 weeks of training at a new job and it feels awkward and confusing and you're learning where everything is. But after the first month or two, you already feel in the flow and you're with it. You understand where everything is. It just becomes habit. Everything is there for you. The same is going on in your head, the exact same thing. So the neural pathways that are created when you have these perfectionist thoughts or these overwhelmed thoughts or the self-blaming, the cue is to exercise or not to exercise. And your brain takes this route of perfectionism. And it continues to do that. If you have perfectionism and you're thinking about it so often, those neural pathways are just getting deeper and deeper and deeper every time that thought comes through. Think of this like ski tracks on a snowy hill. Every time you go down the same track, it's just going to go deeper and deeper and deeper. So the next time you go down, you're automatically just going to follow that route because it's easier, it's quicker, there's no resistance. You could, if you wanted to, go off into the deep powder, but it's a little bit harder. You have to put an effort to get out of it. So your brain works the same way. It loves efficiency. It loves to take the easiest route. It'll follow those deepest paths. So this is what's happening. The good news is that we have the power to change it. And with consistency and repetitiveness, it's going to completely change that route. So right now, make the decision to commit. Commit to this change. Commit to wanting to change yourself out of that path, out of those narrow pathways, and make a switch to something that's going to move you forward, that's going to benefit you and motivate you into that consistency. So can I get a yes? Can I do a yes, let's do this in the chat to show me that you're committed to making this change in your head? So as we move forward, yes, Holly, you are committed. Yes. Okay, let's do it. Okay. So the 4 simple mental tricks, these are just the simplest things you can do anytime, today, whatever, that are going to help you respond to these mental blocks that you guys have, the perfectionism, the overwhelm, and the self-blaming, responding to those thoughts when you recognize them come up, and then boosting your consistency. So the first one is set realistic goals. I'm talking to you perfectionists, especially, and overwhelm. This can help you as well, but really setting realistic goals. What I mean by that is be so utterly honest with yourself and knowing how you can get to your goals rather than just focusing on the big goal alone. So for like the example I gave you earlier, if your goal is to work out 5 days a week, great, excellent goal. That is so good for you and good for your body, but really be realistic of where you are today. Where are you today? Are you exercising 1 day a week? Are you exercising 3 days a week? Are you exercising not at all and you haven't exercised for the last 5 months? Like, be completely honest with where you are now, and then see where your goal is and really just imagine what kind of baby steps you can take to help yourself get there. You're not going to go all in and set yourself up for failure. Be realistic, set yourself up for success, and move yourself slowly in that direction. By making these baby steps, what you're going to be doing is every time you show up for those little goals, you'll start to rebuild a sense of self-trust. More and more, as you show up for yourself for those little exercises, you'll give yourself a little, yay, self-accomplishment, that feels really good. And you'll motivate you to do it again next week and the next week and the next week. And gradually, you'll start to find yourself getting closer and closer to that goal. You want to challenge yourself for growth, not failure. And remember that baby steps are better than no steps at all. So take that as that. The next one here is schedule it. So this is great again for perfectionism and overwhelm. Actually getting it on your calendar, adding it to that overwhelming agenda. It just gives you the sense of commitment. It's there and you have to show up for it. So this could get tricky, especially if you are in that perfectionist mind and you have that calendar there and you see it's there and you don't feel like you can exercise. This is where you can practice that intentional body love. Or another way to put it is intentional movement. It doesn't have to be anything other than focus for your body for that 30 minutes, an hour, or whatever it is you block out. That being said, it doesn't need to be anything extravagant. If you seriously, I'm talking to the overwhelms here, if you seriously do not have the time for a 2-hour workout, don't schedule a 2-hour workout. Tell yourself, like, okay, I have 10 minutes. Can I intentionally move my body for 10 minutes? Can I intentionally move my body for 30 minutes? And that's all you need. And really thinking about, going back to setting realistic goals, think about what it is that you're after with this consistent practice, right? Like, are you looking to gain muscle? Are you looking to compete in an Ironman or anything like that? Then you're going to do exercises that promote that. But if you're simply looking for general health and feeling good in your body, it doesn't have to be anything other than 30 minutes of movement, right? So be realistic with yourself and know where you are. And that really leads us into the next one, but I need to track back. I got a little excited. Overwhelm, also chunking, really helps with that. So if you can categorize and prioritize your schedule as a whole, so like categorizing all of the deadlines that you have for work in one, categorizing everything that you have, the social events for the day in the other one, and then categorizing everything that you are committed to for your health in one. What this does is kind of gives you a sense of priority and knowing which ones you're going to be stepping into, and breaking and breathing between each one is going to support you as well. So this next one's my favorite. For those of you who have worked with me or just know me in general know this, but I'm all about that joy. Follow that joy. Like I said, it doesn't have to be anything that you hate. You're doing this for you. You're doing this to improve your health. So why are you going to force yourself to do something that you despise? So really think about what body movement brings you joy. Pick 3 right now. Share it with me. I'd love to hear it. For me, it's dancing. I absolutely love to dance. And if I dance for 30 minutes in a day, I'm exhausted. I exerted so much energy. It is cardio. I also love surfing and biking and skateboarding. I love skiing. Like, anytime you get outside or anytime you're just moving your body, count it. Let yourself count that as joy, especially if you're only wanting to improve your consistent exercising to feel good in your body and be generally healthy. Like I said, it doesn't have to be anything other than what feels good for you. So what do we have? Skating, yes. Chelsea loves skating. Biking and hiking, I love that. Yeah, so follow that joy. It's okay to not do a full-on workout with weights for your exercise. Break that barrier and just allow you to move your body. Surfing, hiking, and walking, dancing, hiking, and yoga. Guys, we should all go on a hike together. Who's down? Dancing, bar, and yoga. Awesome. And also, just side note, guys, yoga and bar, like a lot of these things with the situation that we're in right now with a pandemic, you get to do that still. We have access to that on a virtual. So there's literally no excuses. If you enjoy it, you will find a way to go and do it. The last one is compassion. And this is really the key. This is the key to consistency. And it ties in a lot with the first one of just being realistic with yourself, knowing where you are. You must understand that building a whole new routine takes time. It literally takes time. There's no if, ands, or buts about it. So the way habits work is to solidify a habit. It takes consistent effort and repetition for a habit to become a habit. And usually that takes a minimum of 3 months. When it comes to exercise though, which is something that doesn't have an immediate reward. It has a more long-term reward. When you're consistent, then you'll get a reward. That is going to take much, much longer. It can take up to, or not up to, a minimum of 4-6 months before you really start to feel like your body needs to exercise and it has that habitual behavior come through. So it takes so much time to do. Oh, that's okay, Ali. Yeah, I'll send you the recording. Have a good rest of your day. So yeah, it takes time. Be compassionate with yourself. Really understand that that is where you are, and check in with yourself day to day. How does my body feel? How do I feel? And honestly, just embrace your humanness. Like, you can't be perfect. You can't be like there 100% of the time. Your body's also not perfect. Your body's also not going to be there 100% of the time. So be there for it and really understand where you are, and bring that compassion to yourself, and know that, you know, you're doing what you can. You're doing the best. You have the opportunity today. You have the opportunity tomorrow. So really sit in with that. Let's see. Okay, so knowing these are the four, the setting realistic goals, you are scheduling it, you are following the joy, and you are being compassionate for yourself. As you're going through all these things, all those are doing is helping you break through that perfectionism, that overwhelm, and the self-blaming. As you're going through this, really connect to your why. Why is this important to you? Why do you want to be consistent with your exercise? Is it to gain that courage, that confidence in yourself, and get that sense of accomplishment? Is it to connect with your body and show your body that you love it? Is it to get those benefits of health, whether your internal functioning or the external functioning with your muscles and your skeleton? And remember to take it day by day, moment to moment. We are human. We aren't going to have a perfect day every single day. And honestly, if we think back in our days, I don't know if we can name one perfect day. So be with yourself right now, moment to moment, day to day, and know how to respond to what your body needs in the moment. Once you set yourself up for success, for instance, that scheduling, show up. Just show up for it. You know the mental blocks are there. You can say, that's interesting. I'm thinking perfectionist thoughts, but I'm going to show up anyway. I'm just going to show up for it. And remember that you don't have to go it alone. If you are feeling overwhelmed with making a schedule for yourself or knowing what steps to take to move forward, you don't have to go. There's tons of help out there, including me, just by the way. But know that you're not alone on this. There's a lot of people that are also looking for help here. So there are resources out there. So I wanted to bring this one back to our attention. If you are thinking these thoughts, I'm not consistent, but I have the desire to improve, what I'm doing isn't working, I know that this is good for my health and my choices are my responsibility and I refuse to settle, right now, choose to commit. I am ready to commit and shift my mindset. Hit me in the chat, tell me you're here, tell me that you're ready to commit and shift your mindset. So the 4 simple mental tricks that we have talked about, shifting that mindset. Yes, Megan, we're shifting this. You know what's going on. And so now you get to use the realistic goals, the scheduling, the following joy and compassion to help boost yourself out of that pattern. That's all we're doing, right? That's all these simple mental tricks are here for, is just to get you out of that pattern, that repetitive behavior of perfectionism, overwhelm, and self-blaming. That's all this is doing. It's going to help you get out of that rhythm. Ready, Freddie? Yes, Kim. Yes, Chelsea. So make a choice right now that you are going to use to set yourself up for success. Make a choice. So this being said, of course, I am a mindset health coach, so I wanted to show you that I do have an option for you as well. I have a mental movement program. A lot of you have already done this with me. It is a signature group coaching program, 8 weeks long. And within this program, we're going to do some goal clarity work, get a little bit of guidance on there, and as well as do mental workouts, which is really habit training. And it's not just habit training for your physical habits that improve your health and exercise, but also your internal habits, the mental habits that are looping in your brain that you get to break free. Now that you're aware of them, you get to break free with them. And I give you practical tools on how to actually physically shift that mindset. And it's also a great place for community. All the women that are in there, and honestly, I'm going to be opening it up to men too, but the people that are in there are there for the same reason as you. So you get to be held accountable and motivated by other people in the same work as you, doing the same work as you. So really quick past experiences from Mental Movement. We have Kim here, who at the very beginning was unsure about being vulnerable and honest, but as she started to be a little more comfortable with it, she really got to dive deep and discover those thoughts, beliefs, and habits that were holding her back, as well as really understanding what body signals were. So this is what I talked about earlier with body communication, understanding what the little ticks and little movement that happens inside your body, what that means to you, and then making a choice to respond to it with love and intention. And Chelsea as well. So she really took the time to recognize what was holding her back as well. And she understood that the first step is showing up for yourself. And this container of Mental Movement is a place for you to practice that. I hold you accountable, the other women in the group hold you accountable, and you can really show up for yourself. So, and at the end, she really found that she was connecting with her mind and her body and her habits. So that's where this magic comes through. And Holly, of course, so she is actually, she's the one that helped me coin the term intentional body love. What was happening was she had surgery, a month or so prior to our program together. And during our program, she was feeling really disconnected and a lot of pain. And what was happening is she would look at her schedule of all the exercises she had mapped out and was getting frustrated with herself for not being able to check off every single thing because her body literally wasn't there for it. Her body didn't want to do it. And so we shifted that mindset into, well, it's not 30 minutes of exercise. It's 30 minutes of intentional body love. Sometimes it's exercise. Sometimes it's rest. Sometimes it's stretching. Sometimes it's just sitting there and meditating and really being in your body. So that was one of my favorite things to come out of that Mental Movement program. But on top of that, she has so many tools in her toolbox to implement new habits and really be practicing that compassion for herself.